in the long run you'll be good as your intensity. um, I think sometimes we focus so much on the goal, sometimes we focus so much on the destination at hand, but it's really the journey. And the journey is just to say those consistent steps are one foot behind the next, literally walking time after time, you know. Um, and sometimes we don't really take into account what our consistency necessarily does. And it reminds me of a conversation that me and a friend was having today, and we literally was talking about. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save that because he have a video coming with that. But talking about the journey throughout, the journey of how things change, the journey of necessarily when it turns over or how it turns over, but we don't account for the things that we see before it, or we don't necessarily always document the things that we see before it. So for example, we grew up in a generation, or I grew up in a generation, not everybody watching this video, but I grew up in a generation whereas YouTubers came up overnight, literally. And when I say came up overnight, I mean they became some of the world's millionaires or some of the world's richest people overnight. And even streams, some of the world's richest people overnight. Um, like Kai. Everybody didn't know about Kai at a certain point in time, people hopped on to him over time, but to the naked eye or to the latest fans, it seems that he has just blew up in no time. Like, where did this person just come from? But even he has a story of a journey. He has a story of how many times he sat at his desk in that red room and consistently went at it. And usually everybody won't see that consistency. Everybody won't see that account of continuously beating on your craft, continuously bettering yourself, continuously working towards a goal. Sometimes they just see the reward, sometimes they just see the goal, and that's okay. But I think the message today necessarily is how consistent you are is or how consistent you are would necessarily equate to your goal or your product. And you can't necessarily always put a timeline or a time frame on something. And when I say time, like I said, time is always a construct for us to look forward to. But time necessarily doesn't equate or differentiate from what you are looking towards, because embodying something is being of it now, even though you don't necessarily have it as yet. So just the mindset of being the richest person in the world, I can embody that. And the money may not necessarily be there right now, but the embodiment of it makes it non separated. It makes the reality one. It collapses reality onto one. And the consistency of that mindset, and then the consistency of opportunities aligning with that mindset, and me taking those opportunities or even being denied opportunities that aren't aligned with it, really relies on my consistency and brings me into that timeline of what my mindset is of being the richest person in the world. So I say all that to say, like I said, like there is no separation of it. So consistently beating on the craft, consistently embodying certain things is you walking in that path already. Um, so for example, you have three say you have for example you have three different paths in life, and you choose path B, and path B leads you to actual B, let's say just the letter B. So there is no separation between you and B. Actually, you're walking the path that leads you to B. So you are already on the path of B. You have already chosen B, and B has chosen you. It is already yours. It's only yours to now actually bring right now into the now timeline. And really and truly, all we have is now. So embodying something and necessarily consistently going at it, consistency of actually not just looking forward to it, but consistently knowing that it's yours, consistently knowing that it's achievable, consistently knowing that this is what you want, this is what you choose. Because it's a quote that says, what you choose is also choosing you. What you choose is also choosing you. That, like I said, there is no separation. Once something is chosen, then it is also choosing you. Now it's up to you and your consistency of actually seeing it through. And I can speak this from actual experience of necessarily wanting to do something, having an idea, having a not a belief, but having a goal or a systematic approach that I want to achieve something within, and necessarily 2 years down the line, finally having a physical product in my hand, finally seeing things through for what it is or what it needs to be. And that comes with looking back over those 2 years and seeing the consistency, seeing the actual approach that I took to it. That I didn't think that it was a separation, because before I even had the natural product in my hand, I had a picture in my mind. I had already pictured what this um, product would be. I already pictured how would it look, how would it sell, what would I do here, what would I do there, how would I expand the product when it comes to fruition, what would I do in terms of sales or management. It was no separation. It was always that image, that imagery in my head, or itinerary of task in my head to accomplish this product. But the final product was always within my head. The final product was always within my head. It was never a separation. So the consistency in between necessarily linked the product to the now of the now that I'm in, and having the physical product of it in my hand. But it was always mine. It was always chosen by me. I had always chosen it, and it had always chosen me. It was just up to me to actually see it through. So it was the consistency of beating at it, beating at it, beating at it, believing in it, seeing it, sleeping about it, thinking about it, working towards it. Consistency. Like I say, it's the daily motion of just foot foot after foot, step after step. Honestly, and we like to talk about emotions. So I was emotionally involved with it. I was emotionally um after this product. Like, I was happy about it. Like, I was just like, yeah, bro, when this and when that. And even throughout that stage, I had to change that speech of when I get it and how it'll be. And no, this is what I'm going to do. This is the action that I'm taking. Like, I made it more mandated of what I see and what I deem possible for it to be. And that was the difference. It wasn't no more when. It was, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. This is what I see for it. And that's why I speak of that image in my head. And like I say, being emotionally involved, we have this cliche saying now, and everybody's almost using it. Well, not everybody, but most people in the spiritual world are using it, where we talk about emotions being energy and motion. And honestly, it is energy and motion. But where action go, emotions flow. Like, where action go, emotions flow. And that, I found it hard to necessarily say that just now, but I I I wanted to put it in a proper point that most can understand for you. And when I say where actions go, where actions go, emotions flow. Is because it ties back into that consistency aspect of it. And when I say where actions go, emotions flow, it's like that consistent approach, that consistent day after day handling of your craft, or actually going after something, actually persisting in that idea or ideal, going after that image, is where your emotions will flow, because emotion is energy in motion. you know. So that action deals with your energy leading to the motions. Like it's just a step after step process, and it's not hard to explain. I just hope that most would get it from what I'm saying. Action, where your actions go, your your emotions flow. And like I say, that step by step, that action of literally one foot after the next, step by step, um, carrying that persona with you of, hey, I'm gonna get this image, I'm gonna get this image in my mind, I'm gonna get this image in my mind. It gets you emotionally involved. So your energy in motion, your energy in motion necessarily then goes with it. Honestly, it's not a separation thing. Once again, it's a trickle down effect of bit by bit, step by step, and you see that consistency in everything. It's almost like Newton's law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It's a consistent. It's a trickle down effect, like we say. So we can look for consistency in every area of life, because consistency has to do more so with just the reactions of our actions, the reactions of opportunities to come, the reactions of opportunities presented, the choices that we make. That's where our consistency necessarily lies. Your consistency lies in every step by step way, every thought process, every action that you then take. That's where your consistency lies. I can always, all I can always almost assure you that almost walking is one of the best examples that I can give for it, because when I say it's where your actions necessarily lie, and I keep saying it throughout the video of um, foot after foot or step after step, um, you have a choice. You have a choice of continuous forward motion. You have a choice of, after that initial step forward, that you could make one backwards. You have a choice of, after that initial step forward, you make one backward, you move to the side. And all of this is consistent depending on what you're doing, because it could be a dance motion, it could be a dance line, it could be a routine, and that consistency may be making a product of perfection of what you deem necessarily for it, what you deem necessary for it, so yeah, and that then leads me to let you know that don't ever let nobody tell you what your consistency is. You know what your consistency is. You know what you deem to be consistent for what you are necessarily approaching. Sometimes we let people step in the way of telling us that we may not be doing enough, or we may not be doing much, or they don't like the road that we're walking, or they don't like the path that we're taking. But we know what we consistently have to do to make consistency for our product. Without your consistency, your product is nothing. Without your consistency, your product won't ever be made. So somebody can't tell you what your consistency should look like, or what your consistency should be, if they are not even knowing or aware of what your end product, what your end goal is. And some people would still be aware of your end goal. Some people would still be aware of your product, and still they cannot tell you what necessary consistent steps you have to take, because you are walking your consistency. You are walking your path. You know it's necessary. Nobody else. Nobody else. So I say all of this to say, necessarily, keep at it. You know, you're only as good in the long run as your intensity. The only things that you can achieve comes from the consistent journey of even getting to the thing, of even bringing it to the right now. That's the only way that it will ever be achieved. That's the only way that it will ever manifest itself in the reality of now. If you don't consistently go at it, it's like pouring a cup of water. pour half and you leave it and you never come back. And then you try to blame an outsubstantial source or external source to say you don't have a full cup of water, when necessarily you could have literally just pour an ounce a day, or a little a day, whatever, I don't know, but still. But yeah, like, consistency. You gotta be consistent with what you do. You gotta be top on top every day. Every day consistency won't look the same. Every day the dance won't be the same. Every day the steps won't come together beautifully. But hey, if you try today, if you got 2 steps or the 5 today, that's great. Tomorrow you may get 3. Tomorrow you may get 4. Tomorrow you may get 1. But until you hit that 5, that's when you stop. If 5 is your goal, 5 may be the goal, and then you move it to 10. Then you move it to 20. Whatever you deem necessary, whatever you deem the approach to be, But yeah, that's my video for today. That's my journal for the day. Hope y'all staying safe. Hope y'all staying connected. Hope y'all staying consistent. Hope y'all like that last one too. We got more coming though, y'all. Tune in. Y'all stick with it. Comment in the comments what y'all want to hear me talk about, what topics y'all thinking of, how y'all feeling, whatever it is. Comment section's open for y'all. But peace and love to the gods.